Have you ever wondered what might be hidden beneath the deep ocean, among wild cliffs, or in the shadows of ancient caves, kept away from the light of humanity? Today, join us as we embark on a journey to uncover mysteries that remain unsolved. Each story is a doorway to the past, challenging our imagination and igniting the desire to conquer the unknown. Are you ready? Let's begin this adventure together. Thuggees, the ghostly assassins of ancient India. On the old footpaths of the Indian subcontinent, there was once a name that sent chills down the spines of many travelers. That name was Thuggees. This criminal group took their name from a Sanskrit word meaning the deceiver, or the one who hides, and from the 13th century to the 19th century, they spread terror across this vast land. Behind an ordinary appearance, the Thuggees were a mysterious criminal organization, operating with a level of cunning and cruelty so sophisticated that many modern historians now consider them the forerunners of today's mafia. The Thuggee groups often had no fixed structure, but they shared with each other some very strange beliefs. They were not merely cold-blooded highway robbers, but also members of a true cult, where every action was justified in the name of the goddess of destruction, Kali. The Thuggees did not act in haste. They were patient, befriending and chatting with travelers, slowly building trust, and then suddenly striking when the victims were completely off guard. The most common method they used to kill was to use a rumal scarf to strangle their victims, making them disappear without a single cry for help. What made the Thuggees truly terrifying was their sophisticated organization. Every robbery and murder involved lookouts, decoys, and killers. Sometimes, the Thuggees would take in orphans, children whose parents had been killed by them, to raise and train as the next generation of Thuggees. Most of the members were Hindu, but there were also many Muslims among their ranks, showing that the appeal of the group crossed even religious boundaries. The true scale and brutality of the Thuggees remains a controversial topic. Some researchers believe that the British colonial authorities exaggerated the power of the Thuggees to justify tightening their control over Indian society. However, other statistics claim that as many as 2 million people became victims of the Thuggees over the centuries. Finally, in the 1830s, the dark reign of the Thuggees was brought to an end by a relentless campaign led by Captain William Sleeman of the British. Nevertheless, their legacy still haunts history, and even left a mark in the modern English language with the word thug. The legend of the Thuggees stands as a chilling testament to the dangers that arise when faith, crime, and underground organizations intertwine, leaving behind mysteries that humanity still cannot stop wondering about to this day. The Great Dhamazedi Bell, the lost Buddhist treasure of Myanmar. At the end of the 15th century, Myanmar entered the most glorious era in its history under the reign of King Dhamazedi. Once a Buddhist monk before ascending to the throne, Dhamazedi transformed the country into the cultural and religious center of Southeast Asia. It was a time when both spiritual and material values reached their zenith. One of the greatest symbols of that era was the Great Dhamazedi Bell. Cast in 1484, this enormous bell stood nearly 20 feet tall, measured over 13 feet in diameter, and weighed as much as 294 tons, its main composition being gold. The most skilled artisans in Myanmar inscribed mysterious ancient scripts onto its surface, creating a masterpiece that was not only a marvel of craftsmanship, but also deeply imbued with spiritual meaning. The bell was placed in a position of honor beside the Shwedagon Pagoda, the sacred temple that is the very heart of Myanmar's religious faith. Yet, the fate of this legendary bell took a tragic turn. In the early 17th century, as European powers began to set foot in this land, a Portuguese mercenary named Felipe de Brito y Nicote captured Yangon, driven by the ambition to melt down the great bell and cast it into cannons. After rolling the bell down from the hilltop, de Brito and his men loaded it onto a massive raft and set off along the Yangon River. But his plans went awry. As the raft entered a deep section of the river, the bell's immense weight caused it to suddenly sink to the bottom, dragging the raft and all hopes of a wartime treasure down into the muddy depths. For generations since, divers, experts, and archaeologists have tirelessly searched for the bell, but it still lies somewhere beneath the riverbed, and not a single person has ever seen it again. Today, The Great Damazedi Bell is not merely a lost artifact. It has become a symbol of hope for the people of Myanmar. Many believe that if the bell is ever found, a new era of prosperity and fortune will return to the nation. But until that day comes, the fate of the bell remains one of Asia's greatest unsolved mysteries. The sunken civilization, deep beneath the sea between Mexico and Cuba. If you had found yourself on a small ship off the coast of Cuba more than 20 years ago, you probably would never have imagined you were about to witness one of the greatest mysteries of the modern era. At that time, marine engineer Pauline Zelitsky and her husband, Paul Weinsweig, were diligently surveying the Caribbean Sea with a rather familiar goal, searching for Spanish treasure ships that had sunk to the ocean floor centuries ago. But the ocean had something far stranger in store for them. During one of their deep-sea sonar sweeps, Pauline's team stumbled upon strange geometric shapes lying silently on the seabed. These were not shipwrecks or scattered debris, but massive stone structures, symmetrical in form and arranged in such a way that it looked as if someone had built an underwater city. The sonar images revealed, with striking clarity, arches, pyramids, building foundations, and even what appeared to be ancient temples, all submerged in the endless blue of the ocean. It was a moment that would completely change the course of their expedition. Unable to contain their curiosity, Pauline and Paul decided to return to this mysterious spot in 2001. This time, they brought along geologist Manuel Iturralde, a leading expert from the Cuban Museum of Natural History. The images they brought back were even more impressive. Large stone blocks stacked neatly atop one another, forming long walls, terraces, and structures that looked exactly like man-made architecture. All of this was found at a depth no one would normally expect, as if this place had once been a great city swallowed by the ocean tens of thousands of years ago. News of the discovery quickly spread around the world. Many major newspapers did not hesitate to compare these ruins to Atlantis, but experts were much more cautious. Some archaeologists suggested that these might be remnants of an ancient civilization that once connected Cuba and the Yucatan Peninsula, possibly linked to the ancestors of the Maya, or perhaps even an entirely unknown civilization from the Ice Age. However, it was the unusual depth of these ruins that sparked a wave of controversy. Several organizations announced plans to continue investigating, but then all information suddenly faded into silence. Some theories suggested that the Cuban government intentionally kept this secret. There were even rumors that they had used the area as an underwater base of their own. To this day, the ruins beneath the Caribbean Sea remain an unsolved mystery. Everything that Pauline and her team discovered still lies undisturbed in the cold blue waters, as if issuing a silent challenge to humanity. Have we truly uncovered the full story of our own history? The Pirates' Cave. If you stand on the banks of the Ohio River in Illinois, you will easily spot one of the most impressive caves in America, Cave-in Rock. Its massive mouth stretches 17 meters wide, carved deep into the limestone cliff, like a giant gateway leading straight into the earth. But within that rugged beauty lies a trove of strange and chilling stories that once terrified America for decades. Starting from the late 18th century, Cave-in Rock quickly gained notoriety as a paradise for outlaws. Isolated amid untamed nature and offering easy control over the vital shipping routes along the Ohio River, this cave became the perfect hideout for the most dangerous river bandits of its time. Every night, the place turned into something like an underground saloon from the Old West, where schemes to ambush merchant boats were hatched under the cover of darkness. Standing out in that era were the Harpay brothers, a duo dubbed the first serial killers in American history. Cave-in Rock became their kingdom of terror, where anyone careless enough to wander in could become their next victim. Years later, the legendary outlaw Jesse James and his gang also hid out here, adding more dark chapters to the legend of America's Wild West era. But no shadow lasts forever. In 1799, a vigilante group known as the Exterminators decided to take action. With courage and determination, they stormed the cave and drove the bandits out once and for all. From that moment on, Cave-in Rock gradually returned to peace, marking a new chapter for the region. By the mid-19th century, what was once a den of crime had become a sacred place, serving as a church for a time, and eventually a small village called Cave-in Rock grew up beside the cave. Today, Cave in Rock has become a celebrated destination in Illinois State Park. Visitors come not only to admire the stunning landscape, but also to hear the dramatic stories that still echo through this remarkable place. Prehistoric sorcerers. Imagine standing in the wilds of southeastern Australia, where vast grasslands once echoed with the footsteps of mammoths and other prehistoric giants. Hidden deep underground is Clogg's Cave, one of the most mysterious archaeological sites on the planet. It is here that scientists first uncovered vivid evidence of ancient sorcerers and magical rituals that existed tens of thousands of years ago. Inside this cave, archaeologists discovered unmistakable traces: human hair, fossilized wooden sticks coated in kangaroo fat, marks from ancient fires, and red mineral powder. All these artifacts are closely linked to an ancient rite known as Mula Mulong, a mystical ceremony seen as a symbol of power and magic among prehistoric Australians. These findings reveal that, at least 12,000 years ago, ancient people were already performing complex rituals in which magic played a central role in community life. Some theories even suggest that these rituals date back as far as 23,000 years, at a time when humans still shared the land with mammoths on the sprawling plains. The deeper scientists explored the cave, the more evidence they uncovered. Most notably, a fossilized ceremonial stick, carbon dated using C14 methods, was found to be around 12,000 years old, a discovery that stunned the global archaeological community. These findings not only reveal that traditions of sorcery and magic truly existed in prehistoric Australia, but also show that such mysterious rituals continued without interruption until the arrival of Europeans. They stand as vivid proof of the enduring power of belief and the timeless mysteries of humanity. Today, the relics in Clogg's Cave are still being studied by scientists. Each artifact, each trace, opens another chapter in the untold story of these prehistoric sorcerers. Ancient civilization on Mars and the Stargate project. Throughout the Cold War era, as tensions between the world's superpowers reached their peak, American intelligence agencies did not confine their activities to conventional military or technological fields. Within the top-secret rooms of the CIA, some of the most mysterious projects in human history were born. Among them, the Stargate project, a program dedicated to researching remote viewing or psychic vision from a distance. At that time, the US government believed that rivals like the Soviet Union were leading the way in the field of psychic research and even using people with extrasensory abilities to gather intelligence. This belief made the CIA and the Defense Intelligence Agency unwilling to stand aside in this shadowy race. One of the strangest experiments of the Stargate project took place in 1984, when the CIA decided to challenge a remote viewer with the task of observing the surface of Mars as it was 1 million years before Christ. The instructions were precise, with detailed geographic coordinates for a location on Mars and a clear directive to focus on a time unimaginably far in the past. To this day, the identity of the individual who participated in this psychic viewing session remains classified, but the transcript of the dialogue between the CIA officer and the psychic has been declassified. According to the participants' descriptions, when his consciousness shifted to Mars, he immediately sensed himself looking sideways at a gigantic structure shaped like a pyramid, situated in a vast depression that seemed to have suffered a violent geological catastrophe. More than that, the remote viewer claimed to see gigantic beings, tall, unusually slender, dressed in strange garments unlike anything ever seen on Earth. What was even more remarkable was that the psychic did not stop at describing physical images. He also reported sensing the emotions of these beings: deep sadness, hopelessness, and a sense that they were lying in hibernation chambers. He described their civilization as being in its final days, their environment having become far too harsh for survival. When these transcripts were declassified in the 2000s, the American public and the world was stunned, sparking countless theories. Did the CIA truly believe in supernatural abilities? Or was this merely one chapter in a larger program studying psychic phenomena for intelligence purposes? Yet, the most haunting question of all remains, if what the remote viewer described was real, could it be that the distant ancestors of humanity once came from an ancient civilization on Mars. To this day, no one has been able to give a definitive answer. But the truth is, within the CIA's vaults of classified documents, notes about an extraterrestrial civilization still exist. And that alone continues to leave us wondering whether we are truly alone in this universe. The hidden Roman fortresses of the Middle East. When most of us think of the Roman Empire, we picture its grand monuments in Italy, France, or Spain. But the truth is, the reach of this civilization once extended to lands where few would ever expect to find its traces. From 1960 to 1972, the United States launched Project Corona, the world's first satellite espionage program. Then, from 1971 to 1986, the Hexagon project continued the effort, employing high-altitude reconnaissance satellites capable of capturing images with extraordinary detail. The initial goal of these programs was to monitor Soviet military bases and their allies in the Middle East. However, no one anticipated that these old rolls of film would preserve secrets of a long-forgotten past. When images from Corona and Hexagon were declassified at the beginning of the 21st century, archaeologists were quick to notice strange shapes appearing across the deserts of Syria and Iraq. At first, many believed these were merely the remains of modern military camps. But after comparing the satellite photos with historical maps and the ruins still visible on the ground, experts confirmed these were fortresses of the Roman Empire. These fortresses were not just isolated outposts. They formed a defensive network stretching from Mosul in Iraq to Aleppo in Syria. This region sat right along an ancient corridor connecting east and west, a vital artery for transporting food and supplies to Roman armies. According to archaeologists, these fortresses existed for centuries, from the 2nd century to the 6th century AD, meaning from the height of Rome's power to the years of its decline. What makes these fortresses especially valuable is not only their scale and architecture, but also their diverse functions. In addition to defending the borders against attacks from Persia and nomadic tribes, the forts served as way stations for caravans traveling the Silk Road. Inside the sturdy walls, the Romans built smaller forts with watchtowers, warehouses, living quarters, and even orchards and rainwater storage systems to ensure survival in the harsh environment. Discoveries from the satellite images have also allowed archaeologists to redraw the geopolitical map of the ancient world. Previously, most historians believed that the easternmost border of the Roman Empire stopped at the Euphrates River. However, new evidence shows that Rome once controlled a much larger area, even establishing fortresses deep within what are now Iraq and Syria. This also explains why Roman artifacts have been found in remote lands that once seemed to have no connection at all to ancient Rome. The Adam and Eve story. In modern history, there have been very few books that the US government has classified as top-secret documents. However, the Adam and Eve story by Chan Thomas stands out as a special case, one that has stirred the curiosity of both researchers and conspiracy theorists around the world. This book was published in 1965, at the height of the Cold War, when humanity had just gone through a series of dramatic geopolitical and scientific upheavals. Chan Thomas, an aerospace engineer and researcher with many bold ideas, put forth a shocking hypothesis that Earth's history is anything but smooth and is repeatedly interrupted by global cataclysms that occur in cycles of roughly 6,500 years. According to him, each time this cycle repeats, an advanced civilization vanishes and a small group of survivors starts the cycle anew. Chan Thomas believed these events were not random. He theorized that a sudden shift of Earth's magnetic poles was the trigger for disasters such as earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, and worldwide floods. These phenomena not only transformed the planet's surface, but also brought an end to whatever civilizations existed at the time. Notably, he linked this apocalypse cycle to ancient legends, from the story of Atlantis to the biblical tale of Adam and Eve, and the flood myths that appear in almost every culture around the globe. According to Chan Thomas, it was the memory of these catastrophes that was encoded into myths and passed down over thousands of years. Chan Thomas's theory was quickly dismissed as controversial, even superstitious. But the most startling twist came in how the CIA treated his book. Instead of simply ignoring it or dismissing it as a work of imagination, they chose to classify The Adam and Eve story as a secret document. Most of the original content was forbidden from public release for decades. It was not until the 1990s that the CIA published a redacted version, with many important sections edited or removed, raising countless questions about the real reasons behind this act of censorship. The CIA's intervention in a book like this sparked many conspiracy theories. Some people believe Chan Thomas had uncovered secrets that top officials wanted to keep hidden from the public. Many researchers have asked, did the original manuscript contain information or data considered too sensitive to share, especially in an era marked by fears of the apocalypse during the Cold War? In reality, the Adam and Eve story is not the only work to discuss prehistoric civilizations wiped out by periodic disasters, but its censorship by the CIA and its later partial declassification have only added to its value and impact. To this day, many people are still searching for the book's complete version, hoping to uncover buried truths or simply to satisfy their curiosity about a mysterious censorship program. The Cave of the Apocalypse. Amid the emerald islands of the Aegean Sea, the Greek island of Patmos stands out like a jewel in the ocean. Yet the beauty of Patmos lies not only in its white beaches and ancient rocky hills, but also in a religious relic that has had a profound influence on the Christian world. This is the Cave of the Apocalypse. More than 2,000 years ago, according to Christian history and legend, St. John was exiled to Patmos by the Roman Emperor Domitian. Far removed from the bustle of the world, he found shelter only in a humble cave, about 5 meters wide and 6 meters deep, nestled against a lonely rocky slope. It was in this quiet and harsh refuge that one of the most powerful texts in human history would be born. Legend has it that as John prayed in the cave, he heard the voice of God echoing through a crack in the stone wall. That sacred sound inspired him to record terrifying visions of the end of days, of punishment awaiting mankind, and of a new Jerusalem rising from the ashes of the old world. The Book of Revelation was written right here, carrying with it mystical prophecies about the fate of the West for thousands of years to come. The Cave of the Apocalypse is not only a religious relic, but a vivid symbol of faith and endurance. Through centuries, this cave has been carefully preserved within the grounds of an ancient monastery, becoming a sacred pilgrimage site for thousands of believers each year. Anyone who sets foot on Patmos hopes for a chance to enter this small cave and touch the cold stone walls where the very first words about the end of the world were written. The lost gold of Emperor Atahualpa and the mystery of the Langanates Mountains. Nestled among the mist-shrouded peaks of Ecuador, the Langanates Mountains have long been entwined with one of the greatest treasure legends in human history. The story begins in 1532, when the Inca Empire fell into chaos after a bloody civil war between two brothers, Huasca and Atahualpa. Just as Atahualpa secured his throne and brought a fragile peace to the empire, a new and deadly threat emerged: the arrival of the Spanish, led by Francisco Pizarro. Taken prisoner, Atahualpa proposed an unprecedented bargain. He would trade his freedom for a room filled to the ceiling with gold. The task of gathering the gold, silver, and precious jewels was entrusted to his loyal general, Rumiñahui. But Pizarro's greed and suspicion changed everything. Before the treasure could be delivered, Atahualpa was executed in cold blood. When Rumiñahui heard the terrible news, he chose to hide the entire treasure in a place where no one could ever find it. In the years that followed, people whispered that the treasure was buried deep within the treacherous Langanates Mountains. Over the centuries, the legend of this lost hoard has drawn countless adventurers and fortune seekers. The most famous among them is the tale of Valverde, a Spaniard who married the daughter of an Inca noble and, through this union, learned the secret of the treasure's location. He left the King of Spain a mysterious set of instructions, known as the Derrotero de Valverde, describing a path to the gold through the mountain jungles. But to this day, no one has ever managed to fully decode its meaning. In the 19th century, the English botanist Richard Spruce discovered this ancient guide in Ecuador, sparking a new wave of treasure hunts. Treasure hunter Bart Blake, in 1886, also claimed to have seen with his own eyes thousands of golden statues and sparkling emeralds hidden within the mountain. But Blake described the treasure as so vast, it could never be carried away by one man, nor even by thousands. Yet, like all who came before and after, he left the Langanates empty-handed. Today, the wild, remote Langanates mountains still keep the secret of Atahualpa's legendary gold. Stories of a cursed horde, of lost expeditions vanishing without a trace, continue to fire the imagination and fuel the ambitions of modern explorers. The mystery of the giant eye in the Costa Rican jungle. Imagine yourself making your way through the dense rainforests of Costa Rica, sunlight filtering through the thick canopy above, and suddenly, before your eyes, stands a massive stone sphere, so large that anyone who sees it is left utterly stunned. This is no ordinary rock, and it is certainly not a creation of nature. Instead, it is a perfectly carved sphere, created more than 1,000 years ago. These strange stone spheres are among the greatest mysteries of Central American archaeology. Scientists have determined that they were made by an ancient culture that existed from around 300 to 1500 AD, long before the famous Boruca people of this region. Yet, to this day, the true identity and capabilities of those who created these spheres remain a profound mystery. What especially fascinates researchers is not only the incredible perfection of each sphere, but also the way they were positioned. Many spheres have been found at ancient centers of power, placed before the homes of chieftains or set in the middle of important communal plazas. Others are arranged in rows, following mysterious patterns or maps that have never been fully decoded. Clearly, for the ancient people, these were not merely works of art, but objects of deep ceremonial significance. And like so many other ancient mysteries, theories about the origin and true purpose of these spheres never cease to emerge. Some believe they are the work of extraterrestrials, sent as messages from a civilization beyond Earth. Others connect the spheres to the legendary city of Atlantis, said to have sunk beneath the waves. There are even ideas that these stone spheres mark locations on an ancient map, serving astronomical or navigational functions for journeys through the jungle. No matter what their true origin may be, the presence of these spheres remains a challenge that continues to puzzle modern archaeology. The Great Pyramid before the Great Flood. There are ancient mysteries that not only challenge the understanding of modern science, but also force us to rethink the entire history of humanity. Hidden deep among the green mountains of Western Java, Indonesia, the site of Gunung Padang stands as a direct challenge to archaeologists around the world. When you set foot at Gunung Padang, the very first impression is a sense of awe at the sheer scale of this place. At the summit of a hill, nearly 900 meters above sea level, layer upon layer of stone terraces, massive fortress walls, and a staircase system with over 400 steps emerge amidst the majestic natural landscape. Every stone slab here seems to carry its own story from thousands of years of buried history. But what truly sets Gunung Padang apart is not just its size or antiquity, but the controversies surrounding its origins and meaning. Some scientists argue that it is merely the result of natural geological processes that created these strange stone formations and terraces. However, there is a growing body of evidence suggesting that this site was shaped by human hands, and it may have existed even before the Great Pyramids of Egypt were built. Recent discoveries have only deepened the mystery of Gunung Padang. Using modern ground-penetrating radar technology, archaeologists have uncovered a network of underground chambers and large rooms connected together nearly 15 meters below the surface. Some experts believe these structures could be the foundation or infrastructure of an enormous ancient pyramid, possibly dating back to the era that legends refer to as before the Great Flood found in global mythologies. What's even more fascinating is that local legends from hundreds of years ago add yet another layer to the mystery. People in the area tell of how all of Gunung Padang was once a magnificent palace, built in a single night by King Siliwangi, the legendary king of Java, said to possess powers beyond human imagination. Whether fact or folklore, this tale continues to drive researchers to dig deeper into every layer of earth and stone, hoping to uncover the truth after so many centuries. If the theories about the true age and scale of Gunung Padang are confirmed, this discovery could completely change humanity's view of the development of ancient civilizations. It would not only overshadow the glory of the Egyptian pyramids, but also raise a profound question. Did a forgotten civilization exist before recorded history even began? The time-traveling boat. In the far northern reaches of Russia, Where winter seems endless and the ground has been locked in ice for thousands of years, the year 2020 marked a strange turning point. As global warming caused the ancient permafrost at Narayan Ma to begin melting, something entirely unexpected gradually came to light. A fragment of a small boat, about 9 meters long, along with iron nails still intact, emerging from the earth. At first, this discovery seemed quite ordinary, but the results of stratigraphic surveys quickly sparked intense debate. The soil layer in which the boat was found dates back about 8,000 years, placing it in the Stone Age, a time when humans were still using stone tools and had no knowledge of ironworking. So who built this boat? And even more puzzling, how could iron nails exist in such an ancient era? That question opened up a host of theories that have baffled archaeologists and scientists alike. Could this be evidence of a civilization far ahead of its time, possessing technology beyond anything recorded in mainstream history? Or perhaps it is proof of the existence of a great flood, as described in legend. As each summer grows longer, more and more secrets are emerging from the melting ancient ice, and this boat, together with its paradoxical iron nails, stands as one of the greatest challenges to our understanding of history. Dinosaur-era footprint. There are discoveries that may seem small, yet have the power to shake the very definitions of human history. In 1917, in the arid lands of Nevada, United States, a strange event took place. A mineral worker accidentally discovered a fossil that looked exactly like a human shoe print, with a clearly defined heel pressed into an ancient rock slab. What made this discovery so startling was the fact that the rock in which the print was found belonged to the Triassic period, dating back about 220 million years. This was the age when dinosaurs still ruled the Earth, and according to modern science, humans would not appear on this planet for hundreds of millions of years to come. So how could a mark resembling a modern shoe print appear within such ancient stone? The story of the 200 million-year-old shoe print quickly spread across major American newspapers at the time, stirring both the archaeological community and the public. Some articles described in great detail how the imprint looked just like the heel of a small shoe, even showing what appeared to be stitches and features exactly like those found on real leather shoes. Some experts even put forth bold theories about the existence of a prehistoric civilization. However, not everyone was convinced. Certain geologists argued that this was actually just a natural phenomenon in the rock. Concretions, formed by mineral deposits over millions of years, can sometimes create shapes that resemble human footprints. Yet, this astonishing coincidence has never fully extinguished the curiosity and belief of those fascinated by mysteries. The Bees cult. In ancient Egypt, there existed a mysterious cult that endured through many dynasties, the cult of the god Bees. This deity was often depicted as a small figure with the face of a lion or a cat, entirely different from the majestic gods of traditional Egyptian beliefs. According to several theories, the name Bees originated from the Nubian language, meaning cat, hinting at a distant ancestry from the land south of the Nile. Unlike the powerful gods of ancient Egypt, Bees was closely linked to daily life and was revered as the protector of families, shielding women and children from evil spirits. Especially during the New Kingdom, the worship of Bees flourished and spread throughout all levels of society. Over time, Bees was also considered the god of joy, music, and even desire. Ancient dancers would often tattoo the face of Bees on their thighs and wear costumes adorned with his image to seek luck and protection. But what made the Bees cult famous throughout history was not just its vibrant ceremonies. Followers of Bees believed that during their most sacred rituals, they would drink mystical wine stored in jars carved with the face of Bees. When modern archaeologists discovered these jars and analyzed their contents, they were astonished to find that inside was not only fermented wine made from honey and fruit, but also powerful hallucinogenic compounds such as psilocybin from magic mushrooms, the alkaloids harmin and harmaline from Syrian rue seeds, and extracts from blue lotus flowers with strong sedative effects. The experiences that Bees followers had after drinking this sacred wine remain a mystery. Were they simply seeking pleasure, or did they truly cross over the boundary of the material world to communicate with the gods? The answer remains unknown. But these discoveries have led modern archaeologists and scientists to reconsider the possibility that the ancient Egyptians understood the effects of mind-altering substances far more deeply than we ever imagined. The Honjo Masamune sword. When it comes to samurai swords, no one can overlook the legendary Honjo Masamune, a sword celebrated as the very pinnacle of Japanese swordsmithing. Forged in the 13th century by the master craftsman Masamune, the Honjo Masamune was not only a weapon but also a symbol of power and centuries of history for the land of the rising Sunday. The name Honjo Masamune comes from the famed general Honjo Shigenaga, who owned and carried this sword into life and death battles. Through many generations, the Honjo Masamune became a national treasure, passed down from one commander to another, and eventually came into the possession of the Tokugawa clan, the family that ruled Japan throughout the Edo period. For the Japanese, the Honjo Masamune was far more than just a sword. It was the embodiment of supreme authority, the very soul of a dynasty. However, a tragic turning point came after World War II. When Japan surrendered, the American military government issued an order to confiscate all traditional weapons, including priceless swords that samurai families had preserved for centuries. The Tokugawa clan was forced to surrender the Honjo Masamune to the US Army, and from that moment on, the legendary sword vanished entirely from history. To this day, the whereabouts of the Honjo Masamune remain a profound mystery that continues to trouble researchers, collectors, and lovers of Japanese history. Some theories suggest the sword was taken to America by a soldier as a war trophy. Others believe it is still hidden somewhere, silently waiting for the day it will be rediscovered and returned to its homeland. The Tartaria Empire and the theory of altered history. Perhaps few topics on the internet generate as much controversy as the Tartaria Empire. For many people, the name Tartaria only appears in passing on old maps or in European geography textbooks from the 17th to the early 20th century. However, in recent years, some independent researchers and conspiracy theory enthusiasts have revived the hypothesis that there once existed a vast empire called Tartaria, with territory stretching from Siberia to Europe and even extending to the Americas. According to this theory, the Tartaria Empire not only possessed enormous territory, but is also believed to have held secrets of advanced technology far ahead of its time. Many Tartaria believers argue that grand architectural wonders, such as domed cathedrals, gigantic clock towers, or even unusual pyramids, are actually remnants of this lost civilization. They claim that, after a series of great wars, especially World War I and II, all traces of Tartaria were systematically erased from official history by governments and powerful organizations. Some even say this campaign occurred simultaneously across multiple nations, from Russia and China to Western countries. Supporters of the Tartaria theory often point to numerous old maps from the 16th to 19th centuries that clearly depict a vast region named Tartaria, stretching from eastern Russia all the way to the border of China. However, according to mainstream historians, Tartaria was simply a Western term used to refer to territories that Europeans had not yet truly explored or controlled, not a unified country, let alone an advanced empire with mysterious technologies. What makes this conspiracy theory particularly intriguing is the existence of official documents referring to rewriting history. A 1957 CIA report once noted that the Central Committee of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union had ordered Soviet scholars to reconstruct the history of Tartaria in order to remove any reference to Russian aggression against lands formerly belonging to Tartaria. According to excerpts from the report, this process was not just editing documents, but a systematic effort to conceal the true historical events. This has convinced many that there is indeed a real conspiracy to erase all collective memory of this empire from official histories. Even so, modern scholarship still maintains that Tartaria was never a centralized empire or had its own government. Instead, it was a region of many tribes, small kingdoms, and nomadic peoples, heavily influenced by Chinese dynasties and later by Russia. However, the debates surrounding Tartaria reflect another reality, that history is sometimes written by the victors and does not always capture the full complexity of the past. The Gateway Experience project. At the height of the Cold War, as world powers sought unconventional advantages in the global struggle for supremacy, the CIA did not hesitate to experiment with ideas that far surpassed the boundaries of contemporary science. One of the most intriguing and controversial projects ever undertaken by the agency was the Gateway Experience, an ambitious program aimed at exploring and mastering the human state of consciousness. A 1983 report, officially titled Analysis and Assessment of Gateway Process, delved into the true potential of human beings to expand awareness beyond the limits of the physical body. The project's ultimate goal was to find a way to free a person's consciousness from their physical form, thus enabling them to carry out reconnaissance or gather information without having to be physically present. The cornerstone of the Gateway method was the use of a special type of sound wave known as hemi-sync, developed by the Monroe Institute. Hemi-sync is a technique that uses two different sound frequencies delivered separately to each ear, thereby stimulating both hemispheres of the brain to synchronize at the same frequency. Researchers believed that when the two hemispheres are synchronized, consciousness could reach a transcendent state. This process was far more than just meditation or deep relaxation. Instead, participants in the Gateway program underwent numerous training sessions, using specialized headphones, focusing on breath control, and learning to guide their own thoughts. Experts believe that with enough training, an individual could achieve the state of leaving the physical body. The Gateway project did not stop at spiritual or meditative exploration. It was also envisioned by intelligence officers as a way to create a new generation of spiritual warriors. These warriors would be capable of observing secret enemy locations, decoding classified documents, or even predicting future events. Although some early results were striking, the scientific community remains highly skeptical about the authenticity of these out-of-body experiences. To this day, there is no convincing evidence that the CIA ever succeeded in using Gateway as an effective intelligence tool. However, declassified documents about the project continue to generate great interest among consciousness researchers and those pursuing methods of personal development in the United States and around the world. Invisible ink technology in World War I. When it comes to modern espionage technology, most people think of spy satellites, drones, or sophisticated listening devices. Yet few realize that some of the earliest and most effective secrets in the history of espionage came from the simplest things, like a bottle of fresh milk or a clove of garlic in the kitchen. This was made abundantly clear through some of the oldest classified documents ever declassified by the CIA, right during the turbulent years of the First World War. At that time, the art of intelligence and secret communication was still a new field, but the need to protect military information had become more urgent than ever. In the context of global war, every important message risked falling into enemy hands if it was not carefully encrypted or concealed. For this reason, spies and soldiers developed and used simple yet effective methods to transmit information, and invisible ink was one of the most important among them. According to recently declassified CIA documents, one of the most common techniques of the time was to use fresh milk as invisible ink. Agents would simply dip a toothpick or pen nib into the milk and write between the lines of an ordinary letter. When the letter was received, the recipient only needed to gently warm the paper over a flame or a light bulb, and the writing in milk would slowly appear, thanks to a simple chemical reaction. In addition to milk, garlic juice was also a popular ingredient. The documents also record methods that involved mixing aluminum with garlic juice or other natural chemicals to create inks that could last for a long time without detection. Some types of invisible ink were even made from lemon juice, onion juice, or urine. Certain formulas were only passed down within spy networks and were never written down publicly. Although these invisible ink techniques may seem crude by today's standards, at the time, they provided a true strategic advantage. During World War I, when radio was limited, telegrams could be cut off, and mail was the primary means of communication. These secrets saved countless lives and changed the course of many campaigns. In fact, several invisible ink methods remained classified for nearly a century and were only made public in 2011, when the CIA declassified old archival materials. KGB, Project ISIS, and the alien mummy in Egypt. One of the most controversial legends is the story of the KGB's Project ISIS, a project that many believe sent Soviet scientists all the way to Egypt to uncover a secret far beyond the limits of human understanding: the discovery of an alien mummy inside the Giza pyramid. According to unofficial sources that began to surface in the late 1990s and have spread widely across the internet for decades, in the 1960s, the Soviet government secretly organized a large-scale archaeological operation in Egypt under the codename Project ISIS. The main objective of this operation was to uncover never-before-revealed secrets hidden inside the ancient pyramids, based on the belief that the ancient Egyptian civilization may have once come into contact with extraterrestrial beings. The origin of the story begins with a document supposedly leaked from the KGB, which describes a team of top Soviet experts, including scientists, military officers, and specialists in mummification, who discovered a secret tomb deep within the Giza pyramid complex. Upon entering, the team is said to have found a strange mummy, with a form unlike any ancient Egyptian they had ever known. According to the description, this being was exceptionally tall, with an elongated skull and a bone structure that did not match that of a normal human. What makes the story even more mysterious are the ancient hieroglyphics carved into the walls of the tomb. Many passages, after being deciphered by experts, are said to describe a visitor from the stars. Some believe that these inscriptions are evidence that the Egyptian pharaohs once received knowledge, or even technology, from alien visitors, which could explain many of the architectural and scientific achievements of this remarkable civilization. To this day, no physical evidence or official scientific documents have ever confirmed the existence of an alien mummy inside the Giza pyramid. Yet, the legend of Project ISIS continues to thrive among UFO enthusiasts and proponents of the ancient aliens theory. In reality, ancient Egypt has always been fertile ground for theories about extraterrestrial contact, thanks to achievements such as the Giza pyramids, the Sphinx, and countless temples that still hold mysteries beyond the reach of modern science. While most of the scientific community dismisses stories like Project ISIS as legend or fantasy, the fact that intelligence files ever mentioned the possibility still stirs public curiosity. The Dulce secret base and alien experiments, hidden deep within the desert of northwestern New Mexico, near the Colorado border, the town of Dulce seems no different from any other peaceful small town in America. However, for those interested in unsolved mysteries, the name Dulce is at the center of one of the most famous conspiracy theories of the 20th century, the story of a top-secret underground base where the US government is believed to have conducted unimaginable experiments with the involvement of extraterrestrial beings. The origin of this legend dates back to the late 1970s, when an engineer named Paul Benowitz claimed he had detected strange radio signals coming from the area near Dulce. After months of monitoring, Benowitz concluded that there was a massive underground facility beneath the Earth, jointly operated by American scientists and alien beings. According to him and his supporters, Dulce Base was not only a place where alien bodies were stored, but also a secret laboratory conducting genetic experiments and creating hybrids between humans and animals, and even between humans and extraterrestrials. The stories grew even more sensational when numerous local witnesses, including New Mexico state police officers like Gabe Valdez, reported a series of bizarre cattle mutilations. Unlike ordinary animal attacks, the cows in Dulce had their internal organs removed with surgical precision and without any trace of blood. In some cases, police found strange burn marks on the animal's skin, and even discovered abnormal fetuses that seemed impossible to occur naturally in animal reproduction. The mystery did not end there. On moonless nights in Dulce, people also reported seeing unidentified flying objects in the sky. Officer Valdez and many residents recalled witnessing lights that moved erratically, changed color continuously, and hovered close to the ground before vanishing without a trace. These objects often appeared at the same time as the cattle mutilations or during mysterious power outages in town. According to documents and accounts circulating in the UFO community, Dulce Base is described as a multi-level underground complex with state-of-the-art laboratories located hundreds of meters below ground. Some sources even claim that this place holds hybrid creatures, alien corpses, and technologies unknown to humanity. There have been countless articles, books, and documentaries attempting to investigate the truth behind Dulce, but all of it remains in the realm of theory and unverified accounts. The secret cave system beneath Olsztyn Castle, Poland. Nestled in southern Poland, Olsztyn Castle rises proudly atop a limestone hill, surrounded by vast forests and the breathtaking landscapes of the Silesia region. Built in the 14th century during the reign of King Casimir III the Great, Olsztyn was a crucial link in the famed Eagle's Nests defensive chain, fortresses that once shielded Poland's southern frontier from invading forces. Over the centuries, this castle has witnessed countless upheavals, from bloody battles to the relentless ravages of time, yet perhaps the greatest mysteries lie deep underground, just beneath the ancient stone walls. In 2023, archaeologists made a surprising discovery: a hollow space about 7 meters beneath the castle. This finding not only raised new questions about the true structure of Olsztyn, but also sparked hope that an even larger system of hidden caves might await below. Evidence suggests these caverns once sheltered Neanderthals some 40,000 years ago, a time when modern humans were still newcomers to the European continent. As experts began their excavations, they uncovered a trove of precious artifacts from various eras. Among them were prehistoric stone tools, fragments of ancient pottery, and even remnants from the castle's medieval heyday. These discoveries suggest that this underground world was once inhabited and may have served as a site for important rituals over generations. The presence of relics from so many different periods proves that Olsztyn Castle was not merely a military stronghold, but also a shell concealing a much older history beneath the surface. For archaeologists, every new chamber explored and each artifact unearthed is a step closer to secrets that have never before been told. The twin castles of Lug and Chalon, hidden on the slopes of Mount Peitz amid the majestic mountains of the Austrian Alps, the two castles of Lug and Chalon have stood for centuries as silent witnesses to history and legend. When you stand at the foot of the mountain and look up, you can see the ruins of these ancient fortresses clinging to the cliffs, creating a scene that is both wild and mysterious, like something out of a fairy tale or a medieval adventure film. According to local folklore, Chalon Castle was built by a brave knight and the Saxon princess he loved. The couple sought to escape their pursuers and took refuge atop the mountain, where they quietly built their fortress above a deep network of caves. But what truly gave this place its legendary reputation is the tale of the man without a shadow. Legend has it that a man, cursed to never cast a shadow, lived in seclusion within the dark corridors of Chalon Castle. He could only leave the caves when night fell, and throughout his life, he silently spread fear among the villagers, with strange stories of young women being taken deep into the caves. Beyond legend, history first records Chalon Castle in the year 1181. But to this day, the true origins of both castles remain a mystery. Very few documents mention who built them or why these two fortresses were placed so close together in such a rugged mountain landscape. By the 19th century, Lug Castle had once served as a hideout for a notorious gang of criminals. When they left, they destroyed much of the structure, leaving behind crumbling walls and traces of a chaotic era. Today, most of Lug and Chalon exist only as weathered ruins scattered across the mountainside, worn down by wind and time over the years. However, the deep underground cave system beneath the castles still exists, opening into corridors that lead into the heart of the mountain and corners that remain unexplored. For those who are drawn to mystery and passionate about archaeology, the twin castles of Lug and Chalon are not just relics of a distant medieval age, but also an endless source of inspiration for the strange and captivating stories that continue to be told in the heart of the Austrian Alps. Treasure from outer space. When people talk about humanity's greatest treasures, many immediately picture chests of gold buried deep underground, or secrets lost in dense jungles. But sometimes, the most remarkable treasures carry within them a story about the connection between Earth and the vastness of outer space. That is precisely the case with the Villena treasure, one of the most astonishing archaeological discoveries in Spain's history. In 1963, during an excavation in the region of Villena in southeastern Spain, archaeologists uncovered a trove of 66 priceless artifacts, most of them crafted from pure gold and dating back around 3,500 years. Cups, Bowls, bracelets, and exquisite pieces of jewelry all showed that metalworking skills had reached extraordinary heights even in ancient times. But what truly stunned researchers were two small items hidden among the dozens of glittering objects. Unlike the rest, which were made of gold, these were crafted from meteoric iron, the kind of iron that comes from meteorites falling to Earth from outer space. What makes this even more remarkable is that, at that time, ancient people in Spain did not yet know how to smelt iron, and metalworking techniques would not become widespread until centuries later. So how were they able to transform meteoric iron into such precious treasures? This question opens up a new, mysterious dimension to the Villena treasure. Could it be that people in ancient times received technology passed down from beings beyond our world? The Vikings game. There are moments in history when even the smallest object can open a window onto an entire era of glory and conflict. On Lindisfarne Island, off the northeast coast of England, archaeologists accidentally discovered a tiny game piece made of blue and white glass, crowned with an intricate design. Though no larger than a fingertip, this artifact holds within it a long story about the power struggles of the Viking Age in England. This is no ordinary game piece. It is the King from Hnefatafl, a strategic board game beloved by the Vikings. The game wasn't just a pastime to unwind after long campaigns. It was a simulation of attack, defense, and tactics, mirroring the very real strategies they used on the battlefield. The existence of this piece is a perfect clue to a dark era when the Vikings began to spread fear along the coasts of Europe. Even more remarkable, the piece was found right on Lindisfarne Island, the very place considered the starting point of the Viking era in England. In 793, the Lindisfarne Monastery, once famed as a centre of religion and culture in the British Isles, was suddenly ravaged by a brutal Viking raid. This event not only marked the collapse of a spiritual stronghold, but also set off centuries of conflict that would forever change the course of English history. To this day, archaeologists have yet to determine the exact location of the island's first monastery. Scattered ruins and relics across Lindisfarne still seem to whisper the tale of a desolate period, where both native islanders and Viking warriors left behind their indelible marks. The Kusa Quarry and the flight from Hannibal in Italy. Kusa Cave was once an important limestone quarry during ancient Greek times, supplying building materials for the prosperous city of Selinunte along the Mediterranean coast. For nearly 150 years, workers tirelessly cut massive blocks of stone from the earth to construct the temples, city walls, and fortifications of Greek civilization on the island of Sicily. However, a horrific event in 409 BC would forever change the fate of this place. At that time, Carthaginian forces under the command of Hannibal Mago launched a surprise invasion of the region. News of the advancing army spread quickly, striking terror among the townspeople and the laborers working in Kusa Cave. The quarrymen, seized by panic, abandoned their tools and fled the quarry in absolute fear. This desperation and haste are still visible today in the unfinished stone columns, many of which remain marked by half-carved chisels or have yet to be moved from the earth. After the Carthaginians entered, the once mighty city of Selinunte met a tragic end. Its magnificent structures were destroyed, and thousands of residents were killed or taken away as slaves. This devastation wiped out a brilliant civilization, leaving behind the ruins that still scar the Sicilian landscape, a silent testament to a period of violence and chaos. Today, Kusa Cave stands quietly amid nature, a somber relic reminding future generations of the cataclysmic events that once swept across the ancient Mediterranean world. Ancient technology and stone tools in Kesem Cave, Israel. Located on the outskirts of modern-day Tel Aviv, Kesem Cave is one of the most important archaeological sites for understanding humanity's early transformation. Discovered in 2000 during highway construction, this cave opened a gateway to the distant past of the Middle Stone Age, with artifacts dating back as far as 400,000 years. What makes Kesem unique is the sheer number of flint tools uncovered here, each one evidence of the remarkable technical skill of prehistoric people in this region. One of the most striking discoveries is the proof that the ancient inhabitants of Kesem not only crafted stone tools, but also used fire in sophisticated ways to refine them. Using advanced Raman spectroscopy, scientists determined that many flint pieces were deliberately heated to different temperatures before being shaped into tools. This intentional control of heat made the flint easier to fracture, producing blades that were sharper and more durable. Findings at Quesem also shed light on how these prehistoric people organized their society. The Kesem people lived in small groups, divided labor, and had the ability to pass down skills and knowledge across generations. The production of tools using heat treatment shows that they were no longer simply at the mercy of nature, but had begun to master and shape their own environment. From Kesem Cave, we can see that the development of technology was not the result of sudden leaps, but rather the outcome of hundreds of thousands of years of experimentation, learning, and accumulated experience. The mastery of fire in toolmaking was not just a technical milestone, it laid the foundation for all the achievements that followed, from metal forging to the creation of advanced materials. The sacred Jaguar Cave at Chichen Itza, Mexico. Deep beneath the grounds of Chichen Itza, one of the grandest cultural centers of the ancient Maya civilization, lies Balamku Cave, also known as the Jaguar God Cave, a place that has concealed its mysteries for centuries. It wasn't until 2019 that a team of archaeologists from Mexico's Institute of Anthropology and History announced a stunning discovery. They had found more than 150 ancient ritual artifacts, almost perfectly preserved, inside this sacred cave system. This find astonished the scientific community and opened a completely new chapter in our understanding of Maya religion and spirituality. Interestingly, Balamku Cave was actually discovered back in 1966 by a local farmer. However, the initial archaeological report by Victor Segovia soon went missing, and the cave was sealed and forgotten for more than half a century. It was only when a project to study the Yucatan's underground water and cave systems began that Balamku was rediscovered, bringing new surprises to the world. Inside the cave, archaeologists uncovered a host of ritual objects unique to the ancient Maya. Large ceramic vessels, incense burners, intricately decorated plates, and many other items covered with a layer of red clay, evidence that they had rested there undisturbed for thousands of years. Many of these objects bore traces of the saber tree, a sacred symbol in Maya culture, believed to connect the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. Researchers also identified symbols of the rain god Tlaloc, which originated with the Toltec civilization in central Mexico, showing a powerful exchange between ancient cultures. Scholars are especially interested in Balamku's role within the Maya belief system. In Maya culture, caves were not just shelters, but were seen as gateways to Xibalba, the underworld through which all human souls must pass after death. The discovery of so many offerings and divine symbols here suggests that Balamku was once the site of major ceremonies, possibly rainmaking rituals, sacrifices, or rites intended to protect the city from disaster and drought. Another remarkable detail is the state of preservation of the artifacts. Thanks to the cave's stable climate and high humidity, many of the ceramic vessels, incense burners, and decorated plates have survived intact, even retaining their original patterns and colors. This allows scientists to study the craftsmanship, artistic style, and religious meaning of each object in unprecedented detail. Beyond its archaeological value, the discovery at Balamku offers new perspectives on the mysterious decline of Chichen Itza. Some experts believe that the ritual offerings in the cave were a final plea to the gods for protection against social, environmental, or political turmoil during the civilization's last days. By analyzing soil samples, ashes, and remaining artifacts, researchers hope to better understand the timing and causes of the fall of one of Central America's most brilliant civilizations. Today, Balamku Cave is not only an archaeological treasure, but also a symbol of the ancient Maya's enduring mystery, complexity, and boundless creativity. With every artifact uncovered, humanity moves one step closer to unraveling the secrets of Chichen Itza, a city that once stood at the very heart of an age of power and faith. The Mogao Caves. Situated on the edge of the Gobi Desert near Dunhuang in Gansu Province, China, the Mogao Caves, also known as the Caves of 1,000 Buddhas, are among the most remarkable religious and artistic sites of ancient Asia. Perched along the legendary Silk Road, a lifeline that connected east and west for over 1,000 years, this complex of caves not only bears witness to the meeting of diverse cultures, but also preserves a treasure trove of rare human knowledge and artistry. Beginning in the 4th century AD, Buddhist monks came to this place to meditate and carved the first caves into the sandstone cliffs. Over more than a millennium, under the patronage of dynasties from the Wei, Tang, and Song, more than 500 caves, large and small, were sculpted deep into the rock. Each cave is a unique world of its own, adorned with thousands of clay statues and vibrant Buddhist murals depicting scenes of daily life, bodhisattvas, deities, and even the kings and queens who once supported Buddhism. What makes Macau truly invaluable is the sheer number and quality of its works of art. Archaeologists have counted more than 2,000 clay statues of every size, from towering figures over 30 meters tall to tiny sculptures no bigger than the palm of your hand. Alongside them are over 45,000 square meters of wall paintings, preserved almost perfectly across centuries. These masterpieces reflect not only religious faith, but also trace the evolution of painting, architecture, and social life across various periods of history. One of the greatest discoveries at Mogao came in 1900, when the monk Wang Yuanlu, while tending to the caves, accidentally uncovered a small, long-sealed chamber. When he opened it, he was stunned to find an enormous cache. Over 50,000 manuscripts, sutras, paintings, administrative documents, letters, and records on science, medicine, music, and religion. This library cave, known as the Library Cave or Cave 17, completely changed scholarly understanding of the Silk Road and Dunhuang's crucial role in the spread of knowledge and culture. The documents in the Library Cave reveal an incredible diversity of religion, language, and ethnicity. In addition to Buddhist scriptures in Chinese, there are works in Sanskrit, Tibetan, Old Turkish, Hebrew, and even records relating to Taoism, Confucianism, and other religions that once entered Central Asia. Here, scientists have also discovered ancient music scores, embroidered art, medical texts, and even trade contracts, all offering deep insight into the economic, social, and religious lives of communities along the Silk Road. Today, the Macau Caves are recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site and attract visitors and researchers from all over the world. More than just a symbol of Chinese Buddhist art, Macau stands as living proof of the fusion of ancient civilizations, from China and India to Persia and Central Asia. As you admire the statues, murals, and immense archive of documents here, you gain a greater appreciation for the value of cultural preservation and for Dunhuang's enduring role as a vital bridge between East and West for more than 1,000 years. The mysteries of the past are still out there, waiting for us to uncover and decipher them. If you found today's stories intriguing, don't forget to leave your thoughts below and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our next adventures. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in the next exploration.